Okay, looks like I am live streaming. So I wanted to bring a little bit of an update on the 8 passengers true crime situation. This is regarding Miss Ruby Franke. I don't know if she's a Miss, a Ms., a Mrs. I think she's divorced, so she'd be a Miss Ruby Franke, and her YouTube channel, in which she often filmed her children in very private situations and would humiliate them and show them in uncomfortable circumstances. But it went deeper than that. Apparently, Ruby had this channel for quite some time, ended up getting an awful lot of subscribers and viewers on her channel, and eventually she apparently started talking about some forms of quote unquote discipline she used with her various children. Things like her 6 year old was made to make her own lunch, and when she forgot to make her lunch and went to school, Ruby, the mother, so called mother, refused to bring the lunch to the little girl. She said, oh, well, it was her job to get up and make her lunch. If she didn't make her lunch, she can starve. She'll learn. I mean, 6 years old, okay? Another time, her older son, I think he was like maybe 17, I'm not sure. Anyway, he was kind of wrestling with his little brother, being a bit rough, and his punishment was 6 or 7 months without his bed. Like, he was literally, his bedroom was taken away from him. He was made to sleep on a beanbag chair for months at a time, which was so bad on his body that he ended up, I believe, going to the hospital or the doctor because of the wounds on his body from sleeping on a beanbag chair. It messed up his back, I guess. I don't know if he still has a messed up back. I'm not sure. Anyway, that was another punishment. But one of the most horrendous things that I saw, besides starving her children quite frequently, making them go to bed without supper or skip out on meals or whatever, which was a very harsh punishment she used quite frequently. Um, the worst one that I saw, not that any of the other ones were not obviously as bad, was when she, apparently one of her littlest kids, I don't even know the age of the child, very, very young though, apparently had gotten into some of Ruby's things and chopped them up with some scissors or something. And she took the stuffed animal, I guess one of her daughter's favorite stuffed animals, and said, do you see this? The next time you do this to my stuff, I'm going to take these scissors and I'm going to cut the head off of this right now. Or I'm going to cut the head off of this toy. And, well, she didn't even say toy. She said, I'm going to cut his head off or cut the head off or whatever. I don't know. It was horrifying, whatever it was. I remember, and this doesn't compare to, obviously, the head of a stuffed animal, but I used to have a favorite pair of shoes. They were like rice paddy shoes, if you guys know what those are. They were just cloth black shoes, and I loved them because they were comfortable, and it made me feel kind of like a little princess or something. And my stepdad actually threatened that if I didn't put my shoes away, he would chop them in half with the hedge clippers. I was horrified. I don't know how old I was, but you have to understand that little kids don't differentiate between a body appendage like an arm, a leg, whatever, a part of themselves and their material possessions. This was just insane to me to see the look on that poor little child's face while this mother is threatening to decapitate one of her stuffed animals, which to her, if you know little kids, stuffed animals are real. Like, they will enact little dramas and things with them and pretend they're real creatures. How horrifying to do that to a little child. And then the bigger sister came over and comforted the poor little girl that was so horrified. Just sickos. Ugh, sick just seems too nice of a word for these disgusting, despicable creatures of flesh. Won't even call them human beings, because a human does not do inhumane things to little kids or anybody else for that matter. Anyhow, I'm disgusted by these two evil female creatures. Anyhow, continuing on. So at this point, the little 12-year-old boy, I think he was 12, somehow, okay, first of all, the mother was married, and I don't know the whole story about what happened with the husband. I don't know if they're divorced or just separated. I think they're divorced. So the mother hooks up with this lady that runs a so-called support group, a psychological support group called Connections, and it's actually still in operation online. I actually found it myself. It's there. It's still up. I don't know why it's still up and running, or if it is running, it's just still up on the internet, which disgusts me. All of that garbage should be shut down. Anyhow, this lady that runs this Connections group apparently hooked up with this Ruby, the mother of these kids. I hate saying mother, honestly. The egg donor of these kids. And somehow got her to come to wherever she's running her, I think it's in Utah, but I don't know for sure, wherever she's running her Connections group. And the egg donor lady that had all these kids went there with apparently 3 of her children and was living there with this lady. And she had turned off her YouTube channel. This lady had a YouTube channel. This Ruby Franke lady had a YouTube channel where she was broadcasting all this horrendous stuff she was doing to her kids. And apparently people had reported it, but nothing was done. Small wonder. Story of our lives on this crazy planet we call Earth. The authorities don't want to get involved, or there's no visible evidence of harm, or some kind of baloney like that. Okay, so she moves in with this therapist lady, quote unquote. I say it extremely loosely. And she takes down her channel, or maybe I think YouTube took it down or something. But eventually I think she also took some stuff down, some of her social media. And nobody heard from her for the longest time. This is a lady that had like tons and tons of subscribers, followers, viewers, whatever. So she disappears, and everybody's like, well, what happened to Ruby Franke? We're not sure, you know. So it turns out she moved in with this Jody Hildebrand lady, which apparently they used to make videos together with some of these weird teachings that Jody Hildebrand had, such as how she loves anger. It's not a bad emotion, and it's really useful in, you know, interacting with your kids, blah, blah, blah. I don't know all this stuff. I wouldn't even go into it because I don't want anybody even to get ideas about any of this stuff to do to your own children. There's no telling how many people were influenced by this creature. So Ruby moves in with her, and the next thing we hear is that the 12-year-old boy escaped out of Jody Hildebrand, the so-called counselor's upper window, I guess, or some kind of window, and ran to the neighbor's house. And the neighbor called 911 or whatever it is there and said, hey, there's this little boy. He is absolutely emaciated. He's got like duct tape on his ankles and his wrists, and he's got wounds apparently from the duct tape, and he looks like he's starving. He asked me for some food. He came here and told me basically, I guess, that he was in danger or he was being abused and starved and whatever. I don't know. And I think he also told the neighbor at that point that his little sister was there being treated likewise, shackled and whatever with duct tape and who knows what. I guess we'll get into more what they found in a little while, which you're probably following the story, maybe if you're into true crime. And this is like a one hot off the press, as they say. But it's so horrendous to me because it's a Mormon type of dealio going on there. These people supposedly have the Mormon belief system, although as bad as Mormons are, and they are pretty bad, some of them, especially the higher ups, I've never heard anything like this coming out of the Mormon church, but maybe it does go on behind closed doors. I don't know. I just know this Jody Hildebrand woman is evil. So the little boy, there he is standing there with the neighbor, and the neighbor's on the phone telling this whole report about this boy is just emaciated. He looks so hungry and starved, and, you know, I'm giving him some food, but y'all need to do something. and they sent out like an emergency vehicle or something to go and get the boy like immediately. And they took him into custody and got him the help he needed. And then, like I said, the boy informed them that there was a little girl at the home. I think there were 2 other children at the home. And I believe they have gone and gotten those kids out of there. Thank you, Yahweh above, for that. And basically, at this point, Jody and Ruby were both arrested. And I believe they both have 6 charges against them for some kind of child abuse, child endangerment, child something. You have to look it up. I don't have all the details right now. I'm just really very disgusted with this whole thing. When they did get a warrant to search the place, they found something called a panic room, with some kind of a safe in it, or maybe the room was like a safe. I don't know. I don't know that they found anything in the panic room. I can't remember if I read anything about that or not. It was just like very shocking that this big, it almost looked like an adobe house, but it was like in the kind of like a really hot area, maybe a desert area, kind of hidden and built into like a mountain or something. Anyway, I guess upon questioning the little boy or one of the kids, they explained that Jody would actually, I guess, somehow chain or shackle them to the floor, like literally by their arms and their ankles, their hands, their wrists and their ankles. And then when they went in to search the place, they found stuff like cayenne pepper and a red liquid and honey. And they asked the little boy, I guess, what was this for? And they said, oh, that when we got the wounds, like from the ropes and stuff that they tied us down with, Jody would pour those into our cuts and stuff. That honey and the, oh God, the the cayenne pepper. And some kind of attempt at a home remedy or whatever. Clearly, these kids were like visibly a hot mess, just really messed up by these evil doers. Ugh. So anyhow, at this point, I don't know what else is going on. That's all I know. Just that I do know a couple other things about this Jody Hildebrand lady. Actually, counseled some people. There was a man and his wife who went to her for some kind of a therapy thing. And she ended up dividing their marriage. She convinced the wife that the man was doing some illicit things. I don't want to say the word on here. And she ended up having the wife leave him, basically, and divorce him and ruin their marriage. And it is alleged that this Jody Hildebrand lady would attach herself to the women in the couple groups and then drive the men out of it. A lot of people think that Hildebrand has tendencies toward same-gender relationships, and that is why she would divide the couples. It's not like a definite, it's alleged. It's just kind of, I guess Hildebrand's niece had mentioned something about how Hildebrand, she lived with her for about a year as her aunt, and she did these same kind of things to her with the duct tape. I don't know about the shackles and stuff. I don't remember that. But she had said something, Hildebrand's daughter is in same gender relationships, and that is her proclivity. And she said that Hildebrand said to her, well, this is very wrong and against the Bible, being into same gender type relationships. And then the aunt says in the same breath, well, if I were to like this other lady, apparently the lady she was counseling, then that would be okay because there's deep feelings there. And it was just very hypocritical and strange the way she had said that. And her niece believed that she probably, swung that way, same gender relationships. And now they are thinking that possibly Ruby, the mother egg donor, whatever, of all these kids may have had this type of relationship with Jody, and that is why she ended up moving in there and keeping her kids there and whatever. Anyway, that is basically the update on that story. I'm definitely going to keep on this and let you know if I hear more. I'm just horrified at what I have heard. I don't really know anything more about, how are the kids. I would love to know, how are those kids? They probably can't tell you where the kids are because it's probably for their own protection. Don't know where this case is going to go. I believe it is supposed to reconvene sometime in October. Now, originally it was set for September, I think like a week or two right after they arrested them. And something happened. They didn't have enough evidence, or they were still compiling evidence. They kept coming up with new evidence. Probably the whole thing with searching Hildebrand's house and such, and maybe interviewing other witnesses. I'm honestly not sure. A lot of the people that are reporting on this believe that some of the people that had gone through Hildebrand's training might come forth and have something to say about, well, yeah, when we were with her, such and such happened, that sort of thing. So, anyhow, it's just absolutely horrendous and awful. And I would have gone live with it, but honestly, it's too late. I work a lot, and I'm trying to relax during the weekend and not get too involved with, getting caught up in chats or anything like that right now, because I really need to save my strength for what I do. My job is not easy by any means, stretching me really to the limits, and I just need to stay, as healthy and well as I can for during the week when I work. And my weekends are my time to do that and regroup and everything. Decompress, as Matthew would say. Anyhow, I appreciate you listening to this. A lot of people enjoy my reports on true crime, and I don't think there's any truer crime than something that recently happened that involves religious beliefs, that involve psychology, and that involve, children and abuse and awful things that went under the radar for way too long. I'm all about exposing evildoers and evil beliefs, and this definitely fits the bill for that. So I appreciate you listening. I'm going to go for now. When I hear anything new, I will be back to report more. If you care to share more of what you know about the case, feel free in the comments. If you have any questions for me, feel free to put them in the comments. I will always answer you as soon as I get a free moment to do so. Meanwhile, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I will be back as soon as I know anything more. Thanks. Have a good night. Shalom.